Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
The Tigers game canceled tonight. Not weather, their conscience, the thinking inside the locker room. Next.
I profoundly accept this nomination for President of the United States.
President Trump closing the Republican National Convention tonight by accepting the GOP nomination in front of a crowd of more than 1,500 people.
We're going to begin, though, with local forecasters tracking a severe weather threat. Thanks for staying up with us tonight on another warm, muggy evening. We've got wet weather headed our way.
We sure do. And Ben, you are tracking that severe weather threat, but also a relief from the humidity this weekend.
Yeah, we can see it just off in the distance, Karen and Devin, but it is the short term tomorrow that we're expecting to see not only strong storms, but the potential of severe weather, especially in the second half. That's why we're under a slight risk for severe weather. It's the area shaded in yellow. The only exception there is Sanilac County and just that sliver of St. Clair County. And again, this is mostly for the second half of the day. What's out there tonight, not all that impressive. We saw a couple showers that have dried up. You can see those rolling through Oakland County and pretty much done with that. But out to the west, there's some activity that's starting to really get its legs on the other side of the lake. That is what's going to be headed this direction overnight. So when we get closer to daybreak, we'll start seeing a few more of the showers and thunderstorms around, and then looking for those to become a little bit stronger in the second half of the day. These are the threats we're looking at. Damaging winds will be the biggest one, but notice that tornado color there is green. It is low. It's a pretty low chance, but it's not zero. We'll talk about that potential and also the temperatures tomorrow, only getting into the mid-80s in the afternoon, but the humidity still high. That all changes for the weekend, so we'll look forward to that relief and, of course, give you the latest on what is now Tropical Depression Laura coming up in just a few minutes. Guys?
In fact, Ben, let's move there. Entire neighborhoods underwater tonight after Laura hits Texas and Louisiana as a Category 4 hurricane when it arrived.
Despite the heavy damage, the governor of Texas saying he believes they dodged a bullet and that things could have been much worse. At least 6 people have been killed. 900,000 homes and businesses are without power. Laura's top wind speed of 150 miles an hour makes it the strongest storm to hit the Texas-Louisiana border in a century.
There are still thousands and thousands of families whose lives are not right side up today, either because their businesses have been destroyed, their homes have been damaged, they may be in a shelter.
President Trump says he will head to the Gulf Coast this weekend to survey damage from Hurricane Laura.
On the final night of the Republican National Convention, President Trump delivering his acceptance speech in front of a crowd of roughly 1,500 people on the south lawn of the White House. The president making his case for a second term while also attacking his opponent, former Vice President Joe Biden. Alice Barr has the night from Washington.
A grand finale for the Republican National Convention. President Trump laying it all on the line in his bid for a second term in office.
Tonight, with a heart full of gratitude and boundless optimism, I profoundly accept this nomination for President of the United States.
Drawing a sharp contrast between his vision for America and Joe Biden's.
Joe Biden is not a savior of America's soul. He is the destroyer of America's jobs, and if given the chance, he will be the destroyer of American greatness.
The president formally accepting his party's renomination against the unprecedented backdrop of the White House and at a time of crisis, offering support to those in the punishing path of Hurricane Laura. And as racial justice protests rekindle after the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin, the president forcefully underscoring his law and order message. On the coronavirus pandemic, downplaying the devastating death toll and touting his administration's response. The president introduced by his daughter Ivanka Trump.
You are the reason he is going to keep fighting for 4 more years.
President Trump appealing to his base with promises to protect conservative values, also reaching out to black voters.
And I say very modestly that I have done more for the African American community than any president since Abraham Lincoln, our first Republican president.
Trailing in the polls, the president and his party making a primetime sales pitch for a second term. Alice Barr, Local 4.
Let's get to some breaking news. Detroit police have just released new surveillance video showing a man wanted in connection with shooting at officers. A story we've been following throughout the day. The shots were fired at officers early this morning on Telegraph near McNichols while the officers were on a traffic stop. Now, in the end, no one was hurt, but 3 people were later arrested, including a 14-year-old girl. Police say this man was also involved in the shooting. The video you're seeing right now. So Detroit police say these suspects were actually looking for officers to shoot. Anyone with any information about who this person might be is urged to contact Detroit police.
Following the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin Sunday, there have been several days of unrest. In the sports world, teams have been sitting out in solidarity to protest the shooting. The Tigers joined that movement tonight, and as Jason Colthorpe explains, players were emotional as they made their decision.
Both teams, the Tigers and the Twins, had meetings before the game in their own locker rooms deciding not to play this game. As for the Tigers, it was an emotional meeting that left the skipper happy that they decided not to play this.
I would have had a hard time playing today after going through that meeting.
Tigers manager Ron Gardenhire today explaining how guys in the locker room spoke up about why it was important for the team to protest the shooting of Jacob Blake by not taking the field tonight.
I listened to these guys talking with their heart and explaining what goes on in their lives every day. Some of our young players and I didn't feel like we should be playing baseball.
I think now people are starting to actually take action.
Hannah Haynes came downtown with a group of friends.
And you have people outside of the black race who are acting as well, which is very important. We need to be together to deliver this message properly.
And was glad to hear the Tigers were the latest team to shine a light on racial injustice in America.
A lot of people who watch those games may be people who may not agree with what's going on. So that's speaking to a very large group of people who really need to hear this message.
It was actually the Detroit Lions canceling practice on Tuesday that began a domino effect, leading to boycotts in the NBA, WNBA, MLB, and other sports Wednesday and again today.
They're using that voice to be heard, and now they're using their lack of playing to be heard even louder.
And for Gardenhire, who managed the Twins for years, he knows the importance of social justice beyond just Minneapolis and Detroit.
This country really needs to step up and take care of our people, all of our people.
The plan is for the Tigers to play a doubleheader with the Twins tomorrow. First game at 1 p.m., second game at 4 p.m. But it certainly seems like those details are an afterthought right now. We're downtown tonight. Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
Serious errors counting Detroit's absentee ballots in the August primary has both the Wayne County and State Board of Canvassers asking the Secretary of State to step in.
But now the issue is heading to the Michigan Court of Appeals. Mara McDonald at the Detroit City Clerk's office. Mara, no one wants to see a repeat of August.
Where 72% of Detroit's absentee ballot precincts had inaccurate counts, meaning their books, which are supposed to be run and maintained by the Detroit City Clerk, did not match, which means if there's a recount, they can't be recounted legally. In what is expected to be a heavy absentee ballot November election, a repeat of what happened in August in Detroit for the primary can't be allowed to continue. Activist Robert Davis was at the canvass of the ballots.
That canvass was absolutely horrible. And it's sad to say that you have elected Democratic representatives allowing this to happen on their watch.
The Wayne County Board of Canvassers sounding the alarm on the counting problems. 72% of Detroit's absentee ballot precincts did not have accurate counts, which means if a race is tight, anything that has mismatched books by law cannot be recounted. The Wayne County Board of Canvassers and the State Board of Canvassers have asked Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson to investigate and help fix the errors. What Robert Davis is doing is asking a court to force action. The Court of Appeals has agreed to hear the case quickly.
We need these errors corrected so these same errors cannot occur during the November election, because that's going to be the golden ticket for these Republicans and the Republican president to challenge the validity of this election.
Realize that Jocelyn Benson's office has already said it's going to step in here and assist and figure out what went wrong and try and provide some extra training. Well, Davis says that's simply not enough, that there needs to be a court order here that requires the Secretary of State to come in and to provide a clear plan of action, A, B, C, D, on how it is going to be remedied. Let's see what the Court of Appeals does. We're in the News Center. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
All right, Mara. The state of Michigan reporting another 758 cases of COVID-19, along with 16 more deaths.
Some of today's other headlines on that front. Pepper Joe's restaurant in St. Clair has been identified as a possible COVID-19 exposure site. That after an employee there tested positive. So anyone who visited Pepper Joe's on August 21st or 22nd is advised to self-monitor for symptoms over these next 14 days. The CDC today dialing back advice that it put out just on Monday of this week when the agency said people who've come in contact with COVID-19 patients but don't have symptoms do not necessarily need a test. CDC director said today tests may be considered for close contacts of COVID patients.
We're now learning a neighbor dispute is what led to shots being fired at a Pontiac apartment complex, ending with 3 people killed. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office says 4 men were sitting on the suspect's porch last night when he came out and opened fire. The lone surviving victim is hospitalized in serious condition. Investigators say the dispute between neighbors goes back years. The suspect did turn himself into police last night. He is expected to face murder charges.
Former UAW President Dennis Williams now facing allegations of stealing from union membership to pay for things like vacations. The U.S. Attorney's Office filed a felony charge today against Williams. He's accused of taking more than $71,000 to live a rather lavish lifestyle, including stays at a Palm Springs resort and expensive golf villas back in December of 2016. So he is now the 15th person charged in the UAW corruption investigation, and that list includes another former president, and that's Gary Jones.
Still ahead, Amazon is set to open its first brick-and-mortar grocery store.
Coming up, why anyone who shops there won't have to worry about long lines at checkout.
It's like a nightmare. It's like, am I dreaming this? Did this really happen to me?
This 92-year-old woman was driving home from a day of shopping and she was pulled over. Why, she says the officer then handcuffed her in her own driveway.
But first, an Amazon delivery driver says she was attacked and maced while trying to deliver packages in Ann Arbor. What she says started this ugly confrontation. Next.
In school, out of school, hybrid, technology, everything has changed. What you should do when it comes to going back to school on a budget.
Tomorrow at 6 a.m.